So I don't know if you live in the Northeast, but last night was in friggin' sanity. So, did I lift yesterday? No, I just did cardio. Yeah, yesterday was a rest day for me. So, yeah, kind of traveling back from Canada with the Gymshark shoot. Got to scrap around with Mr. Bumstead a little bit. He's looking good. He's looking freaking lean right now. David Lade and James Beardwell, he had a little bit of a birthday dinner. Did I have some grub? You're god dang right I did. But that essentially just counts as a little bit of carb up of sorts. So yesterday with the flights, finally made it. Couple delays, a couple bags of jerky were consumed, which in terms of an airport snack, probably your best bet. Go for the jerky and then like a zero sugar something or other, be it like a Diet Dew or like some kind of zero. Better yet, bring your own electrolyte mix. Mix it up together like that, and then all you have to do is get a water or have your own water bottle to fill. But either way, today is the 14th. Showtime is the 27th. So that puts me at 12 days out. So 12 more days of a couple of adjustments, and then we are back on stage. So I'm going to aim for a little bit of a fuller look, a little heavier, kind of try to get some more size to my advantage rather than try to really flatten out as much as I did last time. But other than that, nothing much to change. Nothing much to think. I mean, obviously there's a lot to think about, but not so much in terms of any sort of actual huge changes. Keep the cardio up, maintain the deficit, solid. So I've got about a week until I'll be headed over there. Hopefully I don't retain a crap ton of water from an overnight flight like that. I don't think I will, but that is something to consider. I've seen a couple of guys make, not comments, but I've talked to a few guys and they've brought up rocking a compression suit, or at least like compression pants and socks, just for the for the travel, so that you don't get any kind of you'd really call it subcutaneous water retention. That little water layer, or not water layer, but that little layer of, it's really just body fat between your top skin and your muscle. That is its own kind of like section which can hold or be depleted of water, in some ways independent of your actual muscles. Like when we talk about creatine and we're talking about holding water, and actually it's not exactly holding water, it's more so just maximizing intracellular fluids, intracellular water, intramuscular water, which is what you want, right? That's kind of that carved up glycogen sort of like fuller look, not to mention the actual like benefits of the increased ATP production. But that's something which is going to increase your intramuscular fluids. Now, if tonight I had I don't even know what I could eat, a bag of pretzels with a whole bunch of salt and not enough water to kind of counteract all the sodium, well, then I'd probably wake up tomorrow feeling very just like, well, for one, probably a little bit dehydrated, but also pretty just like watery, just from having that huge sodium imbalance. So intracellularly, I might feel fine. I might feel just as hydrated as before, get a pump just like regular, maybe even get a good pump. But now that, kind of sub-skin fat layer is holding on to extra water, and visually, not exactly what I want. So all I'm saying is that's basically my primary concern headed over to the Arnold UK. So if you are going to be there, well, I don't know. There's probably not a massive overlap of guys stateside who are also going to make the trip out to the UK. I think it's going to be a little bit more local. There's going to be some Scousers? I don't think that's the right word. Well, either way, it's going to be freaking fun up there. Everybody, yeah. I mean, that's honestly the craziest part about all of this, is just how international it's become. to the point where like we can actually go to the UK, or at least me, or like Bumstead and all these other dudes, and it's, I mean, shit. I think it just kind of goes to show everybody's lifting. Everybody is getting a pump in some way or freaking another all over the freaking planet, which for me gets me pretty motivated. Obviously, right now I feel pretty good, very well rested, literally well rested, because I had a rest day yesterday and I slept way in a way. I woke up at like 4 and I'm like, all right, shit, I'm awake, like I'm up. Did my cardio, came back, went back to bed afterwards, so kind of a weird sort of sleep schedule. But even though I had a little bit of that kind of like, let's call it a cardio hiatus in between, I'm feeling pretty good. Plus, I got some Bum Essential pre-workout flowing through my system. I wouldn't mind a little extra oomph from like the Super Thavage. That's like Raw's most fully stocked, every little tiny ingredient all adding up to like the most effective sort of formula. But since I'm not eating a ton of food, I can tell that the Thavage, or at least the Super Thavage, hits pretty freaking hard. If I get a full stomach and I'm off season, bulking, and I've kind of got some more food in my system, it's, it makes a little more sense to kind of push that sort of caffeine side of things. But dieting, it's like, dude, give me 200 milligrams plus some, a touch of beta alanine and some citrulline and everything else, and well, that's all I really freaking need, So, plan today is going to be some back rows, pull downs, pullovers for sure, but nothing too crazy, And this is a distinction that I think I need to make about the training that I'm currently doing, and it's that I'm not growing right now. These workouts are very different than what I'm going to be doing in even just like a month's time, because what I'm trying to do is leverage body fat loss and only muscle maintenance. Right? As a meaning in a deficit with all this freaking cardio and everything else, like, it's not super cool for me to say it, but all I need to do is come in here, get a solid pump, and then really make sure I go home and do my cardio, So in a month's time, once I'm eating a little more and I'm actually saying, okay, let's start packing on some size, that's when these workouts will kind of not change direction, but the intended outcome will be slightly different. Like, in a way, I'm kind of holding some, leaving some fuel in the tank in terms of like net volume. Like, I could do a drop set every set, and I could try to do like a superset every set, but my recovery to come back, for one, tomorrow just to hit quads, and then later hit back after a few days, it's just not there. A freaking 230 pounder eating 2,000 something or other calories, plus, hour and a half, 2 hours of cardio. That's a system for solid fat loss, and improved leanness. Definitely not a system for like insane, crazy freaking lifts. Now you get me closer to that 4,000 calorie range. You get me closer to that. We'll see. There's no reason to jump straight to 5. That'd be crazy. I'm going to ease up my calories just like I ease them down into this diet and go a little smoother and steadier. Really, just there's no need to get super fat super quick. And by super, I mean relatively to me. But yeah, that's basically the game plan. So I doubt this workout is going to take more than 30 minutes from set number 1 to set number done, however many that ends up being. So I think there's nothing else to say but get in here and enjoy it. I've been kind of bouncing around all over the place the last few weeks. I got a week of standard Sam Gym lock-in, which is going to be nice, which is going to be rather freaking nice. As fun as it is to kind of travel around and get to see everybody and just do all this sort of crazy shit behind the scenes, it is good to just have a good little groove, Like, I can say with certainty this past 6 months or so has kind of been the busiest 6 months, at least in terms of like, all this gym, video, fitness, everything that I've had so far. Plus, you add prep onto that, and it really makes it a little something, Now, I'm not complaining, of course, but it's crazy when you're away from home longer than you are home for like, a few months on end. It's like, dude, I gotta get some critter time, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so let's, I think nothing else to chat about. Let's make this back pump freaking happen. See how we're looking. Let's start with some seated rows. Light. Honestly, squeezing isn't even the right word. I'd say this set is going to be a little more just kind of burning themed. So, only 150 pounds. Shit, this might be a 30 rep set, honestly. But just as many as I can do. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's do some pull downs now. Neutral grip. Same style as the last one. And, today I'm feeling a little birdish. And what I mean by that is sometimes I want to come in and do a lot of lighter controlled squeezing sets and really kind of burn to sort of, let's just call it facilitate the pump. But today, moderate weight, but moving it around a little bit quicker, it's just freaking clicking, And I would never recommend you only do one style of training every lift ever. So that's perfect for me. Got to change it up. But only 200 pounds. This will be good. Yeah. Come on. Okay. Ooh. Okay, shit. I think just one, just one more of those. That felt really freaking good. Yeah. Okay. Holy crap. All right, let's just finish with one cable pullover. And I think that is freaking all. We can pose down somewhere. All right, not too heavy. Let's actually use the D handle for this one. Sometimes I like just grabbing the cable by the nub, but I'll say holding the D handle kind of like in this neutral grip. I think it works pretty well. So let's see here. 110 seems like a stretch. 70? Yeah, 70 is about right. So when it comes to these single arm pullovers, I definitely prefer them compared to their double arm counterpart. Not so much like a machine. A machine pullover, I'd almost call it its own movement. But for cables here, there's probably one thing that you got to be tricky about, and that's not necessarily pulling straight down like with your arm like this, where your bicep is bending in the same path that your arm is moving, because now you're flexing your tricep the whole range of motion to keep your arm straight. So what I'd recommend is kind of have your arm twisted sideways, right? So I'm pulling down this way, my arm is bending completely opposite, or completely perpendicular, at least, close-ish. So now I don't have to fight the weight to keep my arm straight because I'm pulling here. A little bit of tricep activation, it's fine. But if your triceps are seriously burning, like, we're doing a back movement, not an arm movement. Well, let's kind of go back and forth for 5 each, and shit, man, it'll be good. That is if I can get this song playing. There we go. Yeah. 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 Okay. All right. Let's pose down. Back is freaking pumped. All right, there we go. Let's make sure we're all still. Yeah, that's about what I'm freaking talking about. So is that 3 rows, 2 pull downs, and then kind of a pullover just as a lat focus finisher. Squeezing, of course. Yeah, man. I mean, that adds up. That certainly adds up to some blood flow in my book. But what's the point of taking somebody's word for it if you can actually get a glimpse of the pump itself that was resulted? So, yeah, there we go. Actually, one moment. Let's make sure we're totally in focus. I know I'm kind of nitpicking, but I'm not using a lens that automatically does it. Gotta freaking do it myself. Yeah. All right, perfect. Nice. All right. So yeah, Christmas tree. Okay, now I can. Sorry. I wouldn't call this technical difficulties, more like just technical something or other. Oh my goodness. So that's the kind of fullness that I want to bring, carved up and, carved up and freaking tanned. But otherwise, not really a lot to change. Or not exactly to change, but not really a lot that can be changed within just, a 2-week span. So, I guess I just got to do probably the most important thing of the day for the second time. Get my cardio done. But I'll see you in the freaking car to discuss, the most fun hour of my freaking life. That's for sure.